Alright, here's your guys' homework on solving quadratic equations, and you're gonna do a bunch of factoring of different types. Well, solving for quadratic, so first we're gonna look at the factoring piece. Okay, so one thing to recognize, right, you guys? A is 1, B is negative 11, and C is equal to 24. Now, always make sure you guys, when you're solving quadratic equations, make sure the whole equation is equal to 0, okay? Now, since a is equal to 1, this is a great place for you guys to do the x method. Remember, a times c is up top, and b is below. So, 1 times 24 is 24, and your guys' b value is negative 11. So, what two numbers multiply to 24, but when you guys add it, it gives you negative 11? That is negative 8 and negative 3. Negative 8 and negative 3. Now, since a is equal to 1, we can just put these into its factors. So x minus 8, x minus 3 is equal to 0. Now, remember to solve for your guys' equation, you gotta set both of them equal to 0 using the zero product rule. So x is going to equal to 8 and x is going to equal to 3. So as a result, you guys, your answers are 8 and 3. Answers are 8 and 3. Okay, number 2. Now, something to notice for number 2, you guys. Look at the coefficients of each one. You can factor out a 2 from each one. You always have to ask your guys that question. So, I'm going to factor out a 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so x squared. 14 divided by 2, 7x. 20 divided by 2, 10. So now we can start doing our x method. The coefficient of this in the parentheses is a is equal to 1, you guys. B is 7, and c is equal to 10. So we're going to do our x method. Remember, a times c is up top and b is on the bottom. A times c is 1 times 10 for 10. And on the bottom, it's just 7. So what two numbers multiply to 10, but when added gives you guys 7? That is 5 and 2. Now, since a is equal to 1, you guys, we can just put it into our factors. So don't forget the 2. 2 times x plus 5, x plus 2 is equal to 0. And then you guys just solve for x. So x plus 5 is equal to 0, or x plus 2 is equal to 0. Solve for both. So our answers, you guys, are negative 5 and negative 2. Okay, moving on. Number 3. Now, 2, 5, and 2. There is nothing you can factor out from each term. So now we just go into the a is 2, b is 5, and c is 2. So when you guys do your x method, so a times c, you guys, would be on top. So a times c is 2 times 2, which is 4. And on the bottom, it's 5. So what two numbers multiply to 4, but when added gives you guys 5? It's 4 and 1. Now, you guys, since a is not 1, right? Since a is not 1, that means we have to factor using the group method. So 2x squared plus 4x plus 1x plus 2. Notice, you guys, that is a combination of that. And then, remember, you guys, you group them. So you can factor out a 2x from both of those to get x plus 2. And for the next parenthesis, you guys, you can factor out a 1 from both. And then you guys can factor out x plus 2 out from both of them. So you're going to get 2x plus 1 times x plus 2. But remember, this is equal to 0, right? So you guys gotta solve for x by making two equations. 2x plus 1 is equal to 0, or x plus 2 is equal to 0. And then you guys solve for x. So your answers are -1/2 and -2. Okay, so again, when a is greater than 1, right? Then that means you guys have to factor by grouping method. Have to factor by the grouping method. Alright, number 4. Now, there's nothing you can divide into all of them, right? So now we're just going to write our coefficients. So a is 5, b is -18, c is 9. We're going to do our x method. So a times c is up top, b is on the bottom, a times c is 45, b on the bottom is -18. So what two numbers multiply to 45, but when you guys add it, it gives you guys -18. And I believe that is -15 and -3. Now, since a is greater than 1, you guys, right? That means you have to factor by grouping. So we are gonna have, I'm gonna change my font later. So 5x squared, you guys. Remember, these are x terms now. -15x minus 3x plus 9. Put them into its groups. So from the first parentheses, you guys, you can factor out a 5x. So you get x minus 3. And for the second parentheses, you guys, you can factor out a -3. If this is a negative sign, you have to factor out a negative of something. So factor out a -3, x minus 3. Factor out an x minus 3 from both you guys, so then you're going to get 5x minus 3 and x minus 3. And then we got to make two equations. So 5x minus 3, you guys, it has to equal to 0 because you're solving for x, remember, at x minus 3 equals 0. So add 3 to both sides, you're going to get 3 for that one, you guys. Add 3 to both sides and divide both sides by 5. So those are your guys' two answers. 3/5 and 3. Okay. Now, here you guys, this is a difference of squares. So it's this formula, a squared minus b squared times a plus b times a minus b. So this is the one, you guys, where you take the square roots, and that's your a and b, and those are your guys' factors. Those will make your guys' linear factors. So let's take a look at 5. Notice this is square rootable, this is square rootable, and there's a minus sign. So it matches up with your formula, right, you guys? So what is the square root of 25x squared? Well, it's 5x, right? So that means the square root of 25x squared, you guys, is 5x. And what is the square root of 49? That's 7, right? So there's our a and b, you guys. So the factors become 5x plus 7 and 5x minus 7 is equal to 0. And then you guys solve for x. So make your two equations. 5x plus 7 equals 0, or 5x minus 7 is equal to 0. And then you guys just solve. Subtract 7 to both sides, divide both sides by 5. Over here, add 7 to both sides, divide both sides by 5. So your answers for this one, you guys, are -7/5 and 7/5. Now let's take a look at number 6. Okay, do you guys see how 2 and 18, I can factor out a 2 first, out from both. So 2 divided by 2 is 1x squared, -18 divided by 2 is -9. Now, look at the inside of the parentheses, you guys. You got two terms, a minus sign. They are both square rootable. So that means we gotta use our formula of a difference of squares. So, what is the square root of x squared? that's x, what is the square root of 9? Your b value be 3. So 2 times a plus b times a minus b. X plus 3, x minus 3 is equal to 0. Now solve for your guys' x's, right? By doing zero product rule. So x plus 3 is equal to 0, or x minus 3 is equal to 0. And then solve. So your guys' answer are -3 and 3. Now, we have solving by completing the square. So, what I trained you guys in terms of solving by completing the square is, you first have to move everything to the left-hand side so that it's equal to 0. Make sure all of your guys' equations are equal to 0. Now, you guys take the middle term, half it, and then square it. So half of -10, and then you guys square it, which is -5 squared, which is 25. So once you guys half the middle term and you raise it to the second power, we got 25. Now you guys have to add it and subtract it. You guys have to add it and then subtract it, because then you guys can do this, where you factor the first part and then you guys simplify the next part. So again, this is doing your guys' x method. So two things that multiply to 25, and when you add it gives you -10, -5, and -5. So this is going to give you guys x minus 5 times x minus 5, which is the same thing as x minus 5 squared, right? Now, -25 minus 50, you guys, is -75. And now, from here, you guys, you just solve for x. So, x minus 5 to the second is equal to 75. I just added 75 to both sides, you guys. Take the square root of both sides. So x minus 5 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 75. Now what you have to do is you guys have to simplify the square root of 75. So in order to simplify that, if you guys recall, 25, 3, 5, and 5, you find your pairs. So 5 square root of 3. So we're going to get x minus 5 is equal to plus or minus 5 square root of 3. Add 5 to both sides, and there's your guys' answer. X equals 5 plus or minus 5 square root of 3. There's a lot to encompass right there, but again, it's just something that you guys just need to practice. Alright, let's look at number 8. This is where you guys add by, make sure it's equal to 0. So we got x squared plus 4x plus 16 is equal to 0. Now again, take half the middle term and then you guys square it. So I'll do it up here. 4 divided by 2, square it. 2 squared, which is 4. And then you guys add that number to the equation and you guys subtract it. So then you guys factor this piece and then you guys combine that piece. So factors of this, right, you guys? 4 and 4. So two things that multiply to 4, but when I give you guys 4, it's 2 and 2. So x plus 2 times x plus 2, right? Which is x plus 2 squared. -4 plus 16, you guys, is plus 12. And then from here, you guys, you solve for x. Subtract 12 to both sides. square root both sides. So you guys are going to get x plus 2 is equal to, now remember you guys, whenever you guys take the square root, whenever you guys take the square root, right, you are going to get plus or minus. Now, the square root of 12, negative 12, you guys, remember it's a square root of 12i. So that is your guys's, and then you guys gotta simplify that square root. So square root of 12, 4 and 3, 2 and 2, found a pair. The pair goes on the outside and the leftovers are on the inside. So that, you guys, is gonna be 2 square root of 3i. And then you guys subtract by 2 to both sides, and there's your guys' answer. X is equal to negative 2 plus or minus 2 square root of 3i. So you guys can get imaginary numbers for your answers. You guys can get imaginary numbers. Alright, solve by quadratic formula. So, you guys have to remember, quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Gotta make sure it's equal to 0. So, subtract by 4 to both sides. So this is solving equations, you guys, by quadratic formula. And now let's apply it to quadratic formula. So, x is equal to, remember label, a is equal to 4, b is equal to 8, c is equal to 3. So substitute them into the formula. Negative 8 plus or minus square root of 8 squared minus 4 times your a value, which is 4, times your guys' c value, which is 3. All over 2 times a, you guys, which is 2 times 4. Simplify, negative 8 plus or minus 64 minus 16, 4 times 4 is 16, 16 times 3 is 48, all over 8. Simplify, we get 16 over 8. So then you guys, square root of 16, you guys, is 4, right? So negative 8 plus or minus 4 over 8. And then we're going to get 2 equations, right? We're going to get negative 8 plus or minus negative 8 plus 4 over 8, and negative 8 minus 4 over 8. So this is negative 4 over 8, which is negative 1/2. And this, you guys, is negative 12 over 8. And divide top and bottom by 4, so negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. So you guys' answers are negative 1/2 and negative 3/2. Solving using the quadratic formula. Number 10. So it's set equal to 0. Good. So now we're going to say a is equal to 1, b is negative 6, c is equal to 12. So quadratic formula. Negative b. So negative of negative 6 plus or minus negative 6 squared minus 4 times your a value, which is 1, times your c, which is 12. All over 2 times your a value, which is 1. So we're going to get 6 plus or minus 36. 4 times 1 times 12 is minus 48, all over 2. X is equal to 6 plus or minus 36 minus 48, you guys, is negative 12 over 2. Now you guys gotta simplify this square root. So you guys know that is square root of 12i, because it's a negative sign, right? And then you guys do your factors. There's your guys' pair, so 2 square root of 3i. So that is going to replace our square root of negative 12. And then notice, you guys, all three of these terms can be divisible by 2. So divide top and bottom by 2. X is equal to 6 divided by 2, 3, plus or minus 2 divided by 2 is 1, so just the square root of 3i. All over 2 divided by 2 is 1. But anything over 1, you guys, is just that. So you guys could have that as your answer, or you guys can just split up. And that could be your answer as well. So, it takes practice. It honestly takes practice, and if you guys have questions, you still got the whole week to ask me questions as well. So, hopefully this rings some bells for you guys. Again, these are the problems you should expect to see maybe on your guys' test. Okay, good luck and study up, you guys.